Welcome, James. How's it going tonight, man?
Doing pretty well. How you doing, Matthew?
Very, very good. Like I spoke of before you got on. A little warm this way today, but we're dealing with it.
Getting through it, right? And
Yes,
things
sir.
are warm in more ways than just one, right?
Oh yeah, we got plenty of XFL news and USFL news really to talk about. This is the XFL Insider Podcast, so we'll stick to mostly XFL though. James, where are you coming in from tonight? Where are you at? Like what state?
I'm currently up in northern Michigan. I live in
Gotcha.
Michigan. I live downstate, but right now I'm up north on a trip with my family. So
Understood. Well, it's nice to see you, man, in person. Been following your work for a long time now, so appreciate you coming
appreciate it.
on, spending your time with us, picking your brain, and finding out more about just you and what you think about the XFL going on so far.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. This is gonna be fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before I get started, quickly, I just want to share. I'm wearing my Saints shirt today. Training camp has started in the NFL, and we have a Houston Roughneck, Jack Heflin, who will be competing for a spot down there in New Orleans. Look forward to seeing him when I get to attend a training camp next week. Are you familiar with Jack at all?
Yeah, no, I watched him obviously in the XFL this year. I thought he had a solid year playing for the Roughnecks. The Houston Roughnecks had an underrated defensive line. Throughout the year they were really wrecking havoc week in
Yes,
and
sir.
week out. Even down the stretch when the offense kind of was starting to dip, the defense was still pretty consistent. And
Yes, sir.
obviously Heflin was an important piece to that line.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I got my boy Harris on the wall over here. That's really
Oh,
who. That's my guy. So you
that
know
guy was a
about him, I'm
beast.
sure. Oh yeah, stud. Uh, but as we go forward, just want to say congrats, Jack. And there's a lot of athletes that have made it to that point. And I think I've got a tweet here from Greg Parks. He just put out. I'm going to share it on screen. Where you at, Greg? There you are. So he's counting 114 officially, but he's saying there's 124 players that have got tryouts from the XFL so far. Does that sound accurate to you?
Yeah, no, I mean Greg is always on top of his stuff. I mean, he's one of the premier guys to follow in this field. He does excellent work over there at XFL board. So 100%. No, I I would definitely trust his count.
Yes, sir. No doubt. And he's a great guy. He keeps up with a lot as well. Just wanted to share that. We will get in depth about that on the show soon. But right now, daily this changes. You can look and find new information every single day. So just wanted to shout out Jack. Jack, good luck, man. Earn your spot so I can watch you next season or this season now. Anybody else that you want to note that has made it to this point, just with a different team?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're wearing a Houston Roughnecks hat. I'm assuming you're a Roughnecks fan.
Oh yes, sir,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, so your guy Andrew Whitaker, he just signed with the Seahawks today, cornerback for the Roughnecks, and Aaron Wilson just broke that news earlier today. He had a workout with Seattle and ended up signing. So it's great to see.
Yes, sir, no doubt. But like I said, there'll be a lot of changes coming through. I feel like in the next couple months, we're going to see people going and coming. Either way, congrats to these athletes. It's what the XFL is about, as well as spring football. So good job, guys. Appreciate your work. All right, let's move on to some XFL news. We're just going to get straight into it. I mean, I'm sure you heard the rumors about the statement regarding renovations at TDECU Stadium. It came out a couple days ago that they may be looking for a new venue for games with the Roughnecks. I mean, what do you think about this personally?
I think it would be interesting because for one thing to take into account is that TDECU that was a carryover deal from 2020. It was something that was kind of part of the package when the XFL was renewing some of these leases and whatnot. So I think it'll be interesting to monitor this situation simply because it seems like just from things that I've heard and from some of the people that I've talked to, it seems like they are thinking about moving on, maybe at least for a year or so. And as we know now, there are renovations going on, so they're gonna have to try to figure something out because obviously, if the timeline's gonna be cutting it close, you never know what happens with construction. There could be delays. Who knows? I mean, that could really put them in a bind. So it's a good thing that they're getting ahead of this now, because the last thing that you'd want is come come January, all of a sudden there's like, oh, there's a 2-month delay in renovations. And then what are you going to do?
Yep.
So I think there's definitely a couple options for them to look into. And from what I've heard, they're looking at Rice. I think the last time, and I could be wrong, but I believe the last time Rice was used for professional football was the Spring League in 2021. So it'll be interesting to see if there's professional football back at Rice come 2024.
Yes, sir, no doubt. And it's as I said a couple days ago on the live, my only concern with that is Rice has a lot of seats compared to there in Houston. So we'll see what happens. But as we know, that's tricky camera angles can play a part with this league in our TV appearances. So we'll see. I mean, I want to ask you, what have you heard of Shell Energy Stadium there in Houston? Are you familiar with that at all?
I've heard of it. I haven't really looked into it much at all. But that's actually on my to-do list, is to look at some of these potential stadiums for Houston. Actually another little stadium story I was keeping an eye on was Orlando, actually. Because it looks like there's a bunch of renovations going on at Camping World.
Yes, sir.
So I was doing some research on that, and for a while there, I was starting to think that this might be in jeopardy for them too. But as I'm sure you heard, the NFL just announced that the Pro Bowl will, and all those Pro Bowl games or whatever that is now, who even knows what the NFL is doing with that. But anyways, it's going to be held there February 4th at Camping World. So with that being said, I'd assume that it'll be set and ready to go for the 2024 season, which is great news.
Yes, sir. I agree with that statement as well, and that evidence is pretty clear there. I don't think the NFL would plan anything without having the proper clearance and background information for sure.
You would think, right?
Yep. But yeah, man, I mean, I some of the stadiums that they've talked about are smaller in venue. Rice isn't there, but I mean, to me, that closer soccer stadium feel, such as in DC, seems like ideal for the XFL. But is that in the budget? Is a real question. DC itself, I didn't get to go, but I heard some amazing things about the game atmosphere there. Did you attend a game there by chance?
I did not. I honestly, unfortunately wasn't able to get out to an XFL game this year. I'm in Michigan, so I don't really have any markets close to me. I wanted to get to St. Louis. It just didn't pan out. Had a lot going on. But a colleague of mine, Christian Palatino, I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he's our DC guy at XFL Newsroom. And he was there on the scene for pretty much every game in DC, and a lot of good content. And yeah, that atmosphere where you couldn't ask for a better spot for spring football, because I mean they were selling that place out pretty often. That playoff game, that was electric.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we had Christian on a couple days ago, and it was a great interview. Right. Great guest. Look forward to more of his work come next year. But yeah, that's what I've told a lot of people as media. If you haven't got to attend, definitely try to. It shaped a lot of my views and what I see now of the XFL differently from going to most of the games. I was in attendance for the Houston games. I went to every game for Houston, as well as the playoff game or the championship divisional game, and then the actual championship game in San Antonio. So it was a good time. And as a media, it was my first shindig, and I enjoyed it greatly, man. Got to meet some great people.
That's awesome. That's the thing that's so neat about these leagues is, the access that you can get, and just the overall atmosphere of everybody there, because you're trying to get better. So it's just great stuff all around.
Yes, sir. Now we're going to find out more about you as we get on. I really want to learn more about you as a journalist and a reporter. I see you're very, very busy and active on the socials. So we'll get to more of that soon. But let's go ahead and talk now about the XFL Combine that started today. Not really sure what events they had today, but we did start today, and that goes through Thursday. We have the live stream that will be available tomorrow, and I'm going to pull that up. But as I'm pulling that up, man, what do you think about the Combine so far and the live stream approach?
Well, the live stream approach, the second I saw that was announced, I was all in, because this is something that personally I feel like these spring leagues have been missing to an extent, is some of this off-season content, some of the things. And, obviously these leagues and the XFL fan first, right? I mean, they do so many great things for the fans. But in the off-season, there's plenty of times where, right now we're in the middle of July, not a whole lot going on other than, of course, NFL training camp ramping up. So it's just an excellent opportunity for these leagues to continue to grow their fan bases and show the fans that, hey, we want to keep you included. We want to keep you up to date and give you, excellent content to just keep things rolling. And I'm excited because DC Defenders, defensive back, KJ Sales, and then, of course, XFL ESPN announcer Sam Ako, they're both going to be the guys running the show here the next couple of days on these live streams. So it's going to be really neat to have an XFL player and an XFL announcer kind of running these live streams, giving everybody the breakdowns and all that good stuff.
Agreed, 100%. They should be very involved and heavily knowledgeable in what's going on. So really look forward to what they're bringing to the table with that stream. So agreed. So the first day, which is tomorrow of the stream, we'll have the offensive series. So it'll be the offensive guys. The following day, we'll have defensive. It's all streamed on YouTube. Let's see, 8:30 a.m. Central. I think it's going to last 2 hours. Is that right?
It's going to last from 9 to 12 p.m. Central. Okay. So 3 hours both days. So if you're in Eastern time, that would be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Both days, same schedule.
Sweet. Sounds good. I mean, I'm going to wake up early just for this. Look forward to it.
Oh, I know. Me too. I'm just hoping that my work meetings don't coincide too much.
Might be the case where you have to pop it in your ear and just stick it in the pocket and listen, huh?
Right.
Now, in the combine itself, they're going to have some technology they're going to be utilizing. I tried to research this on my own, but I actually saw a post from XFL, and I'm going to pop that up 1 second about more about the technology. Pretty interesting. I'm glad they're trying to do something different. All right. So they're going to be using some different velocity training and applications to really get into this combine. I mean, right here we have the bar speed metrics. As you see, they use an app, and there's a component on the bar here. That's what measures the velocity, up and down, up and down.
I wish my gym had that.
Yeah, me too. And then researching this, I found that this has been going on for a few years amongst the big lifting community, but it hasn't really been utilized within a professional sense right here. So this is what's cool about the XFL. They're actually trying to do something different, unique. As you see, this is a grip strength.
You're absolutely right. I think that's one of the best things about the XFL and spring football in general is just the fact that you're trying to do something a little bit different. So it allows for these leagues like the XFL to partner with a lot of these up and coming companies who, I mean, we're just watching technology continue to advance at a rapid pace. So it allows these athletes, the staff, the coaches, everybody involved to just have an even more in-depth analysis of themselves, the team, and everything going on. So I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. Me too. And I've been looking for this post here for days, and they finally released it today. So I was happy about it. See, as we see here, I mean, they're sprints, but they're wearing the components on their chest now.
Yeah, no, this is interesting technology. Hopefully we get a little bit more insight into some of the analytics. But
I think we will.
Obviously, that's probably more for the coaches and the scouts and all that to look at. So
no doubt. And as you see, I mean, I think this is going to make things quicker for the evaluations, and as well give us some numbers so that they don't have to individually look at every player. Most of this will be installed in an application. The players have a profile, and then it just lines up from there. I mean, it's pretty easy compared to doing it old school.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that portion. But yeah, going forward, man, athletes. Let's talk about that next. We have a few notable athletes. Is there anybody here you want to mention before I get on the XFL's article regarding their 9 athletes?
Well, I'd say if I had to choose one from both sides to look at, offense, quarterback Sam Castronova. He's a guy, he's an arena football player, and I feel like he's one of those guys, he's been overlooked. He's been really, really solid in these arena leagues, and he's a guy that has a lot of upside. So I'm excited that he's attending the Combine. I think he's an excellent prospect. So it'll be, he's just one of those guys that needs an opportunity, just needs a chance, just needs a coach to give him one shot. So I'm excited for him, and I hope that things pan out for him. And then defensively, safety Anthony Siofi is a guy that I'm surprised people are not too familiar with him, but he played in the USFL in 2022. He was a safety for the Tampa Bay Bandits. He was excellent. I mean, he was one of the team's leading tacklers. He was just making plays week in and week out. He's a guy that I really followed closely a season ago, and interestingly enough, he got let go ahead of this upcoming ahead of the 2023 season, which I thought was a strange move considering how consistent he was. So I think he's the guy to really keep an eye on, someone who's already proven himself at the professional level. So he can instantly come into any room in any of those teams and make them better.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, in terms of are there any of these guys that you're talking to that you have a connection with that, you're just waiting to hear back?
Yeah, no, I definitely know some of these guys. There's a good handful of them that I've been in touch with, from the USFL, from these arena leagues. So I'm excited for all of them. Hopefully they'll get the right opportunities. And something else to touch on really quick is that there's also another combine August 5th, I believe. It's the IFL XFL Combine. So
Yes,
a
sir.
bunch of indoor football league players going to get a shot as well. So it's exciting times, man. Again, the intersection of dreams and opportunity is what the XFL represents, and I just think it's awesome to see them really coming through on that promise.
Agreed, 100%. As well, I know, like I said, this is the XFL podcast, but the USFL does the same thing. So, and I see these guys that are getting signed right now or picked up. They're constantly dishing out graphics immediately upon these pickups. So, I notice and I see, and I don't hate on either league. I want both to be successful. I just like the XFL more personally, but I think it's great on both ends. So it's really awesome. Player 54 all the way around, no doubt.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to talk about the 9 players that they've listed here. John Ursula, Jake Brommer, Henry Ogla, Christian Majay, Cameron Harrell, Kashawn Williams, Hunter Kelly, Vidarius Cohen, John Humphrey. All great athletes. Research them on your own, guys at home. I'm not going to read everybody's synopsis and backgrounds, but they are worth watching. Now, not on this list is a lot more athletes, and we've had a few on the show as well. So really, from this combine, what I'm looking for is I want to see the athletes that they are projecting to actually play or get picked up. We've heard a lot, we've seen a lot, but we don't really know names, numbers, what we're working with. So hopefully we'll really get that information at this point. That's really what it all comes down to.
I hope so too. I think it'll be intriguing to see how many of these guys actually get opportunities, just because last year things were a lot different at the showcases because none of these teams existed. And by that, I mean there was nobody on the rosters yet. Whereas this year, most of these rosters are pretty close to full. And we've had some guys go to the NFL, of course. I think we're at 33 signings now, and of course, a lot of workouts. But most of these rosters remain pretty full. Yeah. So it'll just be interesting to see how many of these guys actually get legitimate opportunities with these teams.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. And either way, if they have to come back, that's fine too. We'll see you next year, and we'll try again. But like you said, either way, give these guys a shot, give them the opportunity, give them some film, just give them some, something to work with. So it's awesome. So let's move forward. Let's talk about you a little bit, James. James Larsen.
Do that?
Yeah, I think we do, man. So you cover the USFL and XFL for USFL and XFL Newsroom. I see you're a very busy man, very busy. You do a lot. You're posting a lot of accurate information and a lot of opinionated information that is fair and useful. So just want to note that. Tell me more about yourself, man. Where'd you come from? How'd you get interested in this game?
So, man, we'd have to go back quite a few years. I've always had a passion for football, but I stumbled upon this thing called the Alliance of American Football.
Oh, that was my love.
And, I just happened to really fall in love with the spring football, just the atmosphere. I mean, I thought it was awesome. I mean, I just was like, cool, more football to watch, some cool storylines to follow. We just got to see, honestly, it was just funny watching some of the things unfold, like that first game, which is like 40-6 or something. It was just a blowout. It was like, man, what is this league?
Major
But,
hits also.
What was that?
I remember seeing some just major hits from that game.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, that.
quarterbacks getting waylaid.
And then the next game, which was San Antonio and San Diego, that was that quarterback, the fleet quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, what was his name? It started with a B. Dang it. Anyways, he got lit up. That was good times, man. Those were good times. But that honestly sparked what we see now in the spring football scene of the USFL and the XFL. So fast forward to 2020, and of course at this point I'm all in on the XFL. Having been heartbroken once, I was like, all right, the XFL, Vince McMahon, we're big time, we're here, we're ready to go. At the time, I wasn't necessarily doing a ton of like professional coverage of the league per se, but I did start writing for a network called the Brawl Network, and they brought me in to do some XFL coverage. So I was working for them at the time, and just enjoying football. I mean, at the time, what am I trying to say? It was such a unique brand, the XFL 2.0. I feel like we haven't seen anything quite like it since. It was just special, man. Those teams, the branding, everything. It felt like it was the one that was going to make it. And then all of a sudden, COVID. I'm sure you might have heard of it once or twice. And next thing you know, I mean, everything's gone. I was like, oh man, well, I guess that's it for my spring football fandom. And little did we know, just a month or two later, you hear the rumors about it being sold. And then at that point, that's when I joined Newsroom. I was just finding a place to write, really, because the Brawl Network actually shut down during COVID. So I was just trying to find a place to start really getting more coverage done for the XFL and its players. So landed at Newsroom, and it's just been an awesome ride ever since. I mean, it was a long wait, man. Let me tell you, like, I'm sure you went through the same thing of waiting 3 years for this league to come back. So just watching that opening kickoff, that opening statement from Dwayne Johnson, in Arlington with Vegas and the Renegades, and that game was quite exciting to watch. So it was just surreal, man. I just, in May, getting to see the championship, I wasn't there, unfortunately, but I obviously watched it and covered it online, and man, it was just grateful that we have an opportunity to cover more football, cover these athletes.
Yes, sir. Agreed 100%. Now, you said the AAF. What team did you like? What was your team? Who did you represent?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I was leaning towards the Salt Lake Stallions. I don't know why. I really don't, because I hardly knew anybody on the team at the time. I didn't live anywhere near Salt Lake. I low-key just kind of liked the colors, and I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm a Salt Lake Stallions fan. But I was watching all the teams and all the games for the most part. So, yeah, and then, week 7, week 8, I was like, why did I pick the Stallions, man? I mean, I don't know. They were just scoring like 6 points a game or something like that. And Josh Woodrum, spring football legend.
Yeah, I feel you and can attest. I'm very similar. I was an Express fan. So there at Liberty Bowl Stadium, I attended every game they had. It was a great time, great atmosphere, but a lot of butt whippings, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. And then
it
looked like Johnny Manziel was going to save the day, and then that was.
Yeah, the last game of the AAF with the Memphis Express, I was in attendance, and I was sitting in the box. We had some pretty good seats, and it was my birthday, actually, and saw him get knocked out there, and just shook in my head. Not much you can say, but sorry, man. But it was a good time, and I can attest, and that's what caught my interest was the AAF. And like you said with the XFL 2.0, it was something different. It was very community driven as well. I mean, everybody was involved, whether it be restaurants, bars, I mean, players, coaches. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, whatever community you want to support. I was a Battlehawks fan then. And
so was I.
Yep. So it was a good time, but I like Houston better, and so I'm repping the rig now. So it is what it is.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I've the last couple of years, with the USFL coming back and then the XFL, I've been following so many of these players and I've been following so many of these leagues that it's like I found it hard just to pick one team because I know so many of these players. Like I'm rooting for so many of these guys. And my position where like I'm kind of covering all the teams in these leagues, I just didn't want to be biased. So I just
Understand.
figured it'd be best to stay neutral for now because I can still watch a game and like enjoy the hell out of it just because I love watching it. So
Understand. Yeah, no doubt. I think what got me is just because the Roughnecks were the closest to me
yeah.
now. And then, I mean, coming into it, I didn't really plan on doing this media thing. I was a fan at first, and then slowly shifted towards the media aspect, where you don't wear gear to a game as media. You're there to represent the media, and so it was a way different approach. So I can
Yeah.
feel you.
No, you're exactly right, and that's why with the USFL, because I attend a good amount of those games, I do some photography on the side. So it's like, well, I can't wear a Panther shirt on the sideline, so it's just like, well, I'm just gonna stay neutral.
Yep. I understand 100%. So going from that, I mean, how do you stay up to date on all the information with the XFL and USFL? How do you do it? I'm going to pull up your Twitter real quick. You're a busy man, brother. I will
It's
say.
quite difficult. I have a really great support system around me, just between all the people that I follow and stay up to date with. My newsroom colleagues, I owe a lot to them for just helping me stay up to date. A lot of it is just the fact that I just want to stay on top of these things. It's kind of my job, you know. So it's just something that I really love doing. And for me personally, I just have such a passion for these athletes, and there's so many of these guys that no one's really talking about. So for me, it's just a privilege to have an opportunity to just try to share their stories and get the word out there about what they're doing.
Understood. Now, what do you asking this off the top? I mean, what do you enjoy one better than the other, XFL or USFL?
No, there's a lot of people that will like to try to be like, oh, this person's biased towards one league or this person's biased towards another. I equally love both leagues. I
Same.
hope that both can stick around. I think it's easier for me to devote a bit more time to the USFL simply because, I live downstate Michigan. So I've got access to not only the Detroit hub, but I'm only a couple hours away from Canton.
Gotcha.
So this season, I was in back and forth between Michigan and Canton almost every week. So I was at these games on the sidelines, and you can do a lot of coverage from your house, but there's something different about being on the field. I'm sure you
Yes,
know
sir.
this. Like
Yes, sir.
it's just 100% different. So you make more connections. There's more things to do and more things to cover when you're there in person. So I do my best to keep up with both, but it is for me where I'm at right now. It's a little bit easier to just put a little bit more time into the USFL coverage just because it's what I spent more time doing this spring, I guess.
Yes, sir. I mean, like I
If that
said,
makes sense.
I saw you cover the XFL fairly and accurately. I mean, it's not like you're picking a bias. And
Oh
that's the
yeah,
same
and I
thing.
mean, I was watching every single. I watched every single XFL game this year too, no doubt. It's just
Yep.
like I'd say my coverage shifted to the USFL simply because the XFL season ended.
Yep.
So I'm
Yeah.
tweeting a lot more about the USFL right now because there's a lot more going on in the USFL. Their
Makes
season just
sense.
ended 2 weeks ago or whatever. So
Yes, sir. Makes
yeah,
sense. I just remember looking back in February, March, and I'm like, wow, XFL, USFL, XFL, USFL. You're a busy man. So, like I said, good stuff, man. Appreciate you. You
I
keep the
appreciate it,
engagement
man.
rolling online.
I'm trying. I think it's important, and there's so many people that I could highlight in this community. There's so many people that inspire me, so many people that support my work, and so many guys like yourself that are doing excellent work as well. I
Appreciate
think
it.
it's just awesome, the spring football community in general, just because everybody, for the most part, anyways, is they support each other, and it's just awesome to see a group of people come together collectively to support these players and these coaches and these leagues. They need it. I mean, they truly do need the grassroots support. So I just think it's fantastic.
Very well said. And I agree 100%. You'll see some people, they do it for the clout, the ego drive, but most of us here are doing it for the love. And that's adamant. I mean, you can see the difference, just to be honest, in what we're doing. So
Absolutely.
I agree with you, man. So, I mean, coming in, what are just some strategies you use when you write or report? How do you do this accurately and fairly, especially covering both leagues and being able to upset fans in either one by one wrong post?
I've done that. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but I even upset Dwayne Johnson with
Yeah,
one of my tweets a while ago. So it happens. I personally, when it comes to my reporting, I'm simply just trying to report the truth. That's why I try to, that's why one of the reasons why I didn't root for a team is because I hate bias in media. We could go down a whole rabbit hole, but like I look at just the general state of media today in general, CNN, Fox, NBC, whatever. And I look at it, I'm just like, agenda. So personally, like I just never want to really succumb to that. So whenever I'm reporting on something, it's simply like, well, whether I want to report it or not, I've got to report the facts. Like I don't want to report something bad about the XFL or bad about the USFL. Like I never would want to do that. But if it's the truth, if there's something bad going on, then you're going to have to report it. So there's really no ifs, buts about it. So for me, trying to stay non-biased between both leagues, it's like, I think my work speaks for itself. I try to give both leagues equal time of day, I guess you could say. And again, I truly support both. I hope both leagues can survive. And I truly think spring football is one of the greatest things to happen to this sport in a long time. So, yeah.
Agreed.
What can I say?
Hey, like everything you're saying, it's well spoken, and I agree 100%. There's nothing you're saying that's not true. It's the positive and the accurate stuff that we need in the world right now. So appreciate you, man.
Well, and that's what's so special about spring football for me personally, which is why I'm just so passionate about it, is the success stories. I mean, in a world where you see so many people in the media and even some people in the spring football media that like they'll purposely share certain stories just to cause controversy and kind of ruffle people's feathers. It's like, for me, it's like, let's focus on the players, man. Let's focus on what these guys are doing and accomplishing. Some of these players have like 300 followers on Twitter. Like nobody is talking about these guys. Let's share their stories. Let's get them the public spotlight that they deserve. I mean, these guys, I don't have to tell you this. You already know. I mean, these guys are working their butts off behind the scenes. People don't realize what really goes into being a professional athlete, especially at a level where you don't get much recognition. So I just think personally and just generally with this community, it's just great to see so many people supporting these guys and giving them an outlet to just be themselves.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then like it's the opportunity for them to be able to move on too. They're not stuck. They're actually able to pick their bags up and roll on to the next adventure. And the support is there on either side, whether it be with the fans or the actual league itself. So that's another big aspect. So I agree with you, man. And you make some great points. Now, I know you've kind of already covered this, but I want to ask you again. I mean, what's your biggest goal when covering reporting? What do you try to provide to the people at home as well as to the people, the players and the coaches?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and it would definitely cover a little bit of it. But my goal is just, as I've said, there's not a lot of people that cover this. They cover these leagues, they cover these players. So my goal is really just to be a platform for these guys to go to. I mean, there's a lot of them that have reached out to me, or if I've reached out to them and we've gotten to do a story on them, whether it's just sending out a tweet or, sitting down and doing an interview and, releasing an article and whatnot. For me, it's just about giving these guys promotion, just whatever I can do, whatever newsroom can do, my brand that I'm working with, just to help these guys grow, just to give them a shot. You never know. I mean, social media is so powerful. Like even the smaller accounts like ours can really get a lot of traction just if the right people come across it. So you never know what can happen if, you post something about a player, you promote them, and you never know what scouts or what coaches or who might actually be looking at this information. So it's just, it's just a chance to promote these guys, to give them some love and to show them that, what they're doing is valuable and matters.
Yep. And as you see, I'm just throwing up some comments from the fans down here at the bottom. Just some roundabout stuff. I try to keep up, but it's kind of hard for me to keep up with the comments as well as the conversation and the studio production stuff. So just want to throw that up. I mean, I got a couple more questions for you. I'm not trying to keep you on here and bore you for long.
Oh, this has been great.
I appreciate it, man. I try to make it constructive, and really try to make it unique for each guest. I'm really trying to just gauge everybody, pick their brain, and put your information out there for people to research and learn more about you there. So this is a question I've asked everyone who's been on so far, but what's the most enjoyable experience so far? What's something that you won't forget or haven't forgotten that you've done or attended, wrote, anything?
With the XFL?
XFL or USFL. I mean, really at this point, it's you, man. We're here to talk about you. So
for this one, I'm gonna have to go USFL just because I've been able to be at these games so often. I can never forget, being at the USFL Championship last year. Being on the field. I think I mentioned quickly I do some photography, so that's something that, alongside the journalism that I do, I also do photography. So that's just been a great outlet for me. It's something that I'm passionate about, something that I love. This year in particular was just really awesome and just humbling because I was able to provide players with a lot of photos, and seeing a lot of them post them and just use them was just encouraging to see. Like using something that I love to help other players out. I just thought that was really neat. I will say, and this is not the flex, but a really humbling moment last year was I shot the USFL Championship in 2022. And Victor Bolden, the USFL Championship MVP from that year, he signed with the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cardinals ended up using one of my photos to announce his signing.
That's awesome.
That was I still can't even explain how I felt when I saw that. I was just at work scrolling on my phone during a break, and I see the signing. I'm like, oh, sweet, he signed. And I'm like, that's my photo. So, like, on the freaking Cardinals Twitter, man. Like, that was crazy. I'll never forget that.
For your pictures, are you utilizing Instagram, or where do you post most of your photos?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at you probably just saw some of them on my Twitter, because most of the stories that I talk about, at least if they're USFL related, usually are my pictures. If I post a photo, it's pretty much all mine.
Gotcha.
And then of course Instagram is where I post most. Yeah, like all these photos are all photos that I took this year.
Oh wow, that's impressive, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that just off the bat looking, so that's really impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to use my photos when I can, because why not? Just keep that synergy of the brand, and kind of promote my photos alongside the stories. But my Instagram is James Larsen Official, in case anyone wants to check it out. But that's where I post most of my photos, from week to week and whatnot during the game days anyway.
Understood. I'll get the details for that and stick it in the notes. So if somebody wants to click, it'll be just a click away. They can check it out very easily. No problem. And I'll check it out also. I bought a camera last year and took a lot of photos myself, probably like 600 to 1,000. But I found with the podcast and content, and I had no time to work with that. I had no time to do anything with that material. So we're trying to catch up and upgrade my Instagram as well. But I was just curious, how did you keep up with that, man? How did you work those photos, work those articles, the social media?
It was, honestly, I don't know. Looking back, I don't know how I pulled that off. It was a lot of work. I mean, I was taking thousands of photos a week and, sorting them, editing them, sending them out to players. But I can't complain. I'm doing what I love. It's just a privilege that these leagues give us an opportunity to do stuff like this. So I just couldn't be more thankful for that. And just the responses that I'll get from players who, appreciate the work and the photos. It's pretty humbling. And actually, something that's neat too is sometimes people might get upset if other accounts use the photos and don't credit you or whatnot. But for me, it's dude, they think it's a good photo. So for me personally, it's that in and of itself is an accomplishment. So
agreed.
It's just neat to see. And the photo you just had up on my Instagram of Josh Butler, who just signed with the Michigan Panthers. That actually, I just saw Pro Football Chase made that announcement, and they used that photo to make the announcement. So
right here,
that was pretty. Yeah, that photo right there, Pro Football Chase on Instagram. I was literally, just before I hopped on here, I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw they announced his signing, and I was like, oh, that's my photo.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. No, it's cool stuff, man. Again, it's just so grateful for these leagues, because without them, stuff like this wouldn't be possible. So
Yep, you're correct. So going into that, let's share the least enjoyable. What's something that you haven't enjoyed? Something that has not been very fun?
This is going to be a cliche answer, But well, for one, I mean, the last 2 years, I've had so many incredible experiences. I don't even think I can think of a bad one with either of these leagues. Obviously, 2020 XFL was just shutting down was just a terrible moment because we'd already gone through the heartbreak of the Alliance, which anyone with kind of half a brain at the time was like, the Alliance, this is great, but we saw the stuff that was going on there. Like it was bound to happen with the finances and everything going on. The XFL 2.0, I mean, they were on a roll. They were building a solid brand. There's no guarantee that it would have lasted, but it was doing well. So that was a shame. Man, I'm trying to think of like an experience that I haven't had any bad experiences at any of these games or really watching any of these games. So I will say I had a not so fun hotel experience during the USFL playoffs. So this was the game between the Panthers and the Maulers the week before the championship. And of course, I live in Michigan, so I got a hotel that night in Canton, Ohio. And I got out late, man. Like by the time the press conference was done, by the time I got out of the stadium and was finished talking to some of the players, whatever, it was like past 1:00. So I roll up to my hotel at like around 2 or so after I got some food. And it turns out that they gave my room that I reserved, that I paid for, to somebody else. So when I tell you, I felt so bad because they gave me the key to my room, and I'm trying to open the door, and like it just wouldn't let me open it. So then I go back down to the front desk, and the lady there, she's like, "Oh, that might mean that somebody's in the room." And I'm like, "What?" So she goes up there. She brings security with her because she thinks that somebody's in the room that's not supposed to be there. And it's 2:30 at this point. Knock on the door. Wake up this poor Asian family just trying to sleep. I felt so bad. The father just stumbles out like, "What's going on? Why do you have security?" And basically, someone during the day moved that family to my room and just didn't communicate it to anybody. So they ended up putting me in a different room, and it all worked out. But it was like by the time I got to bed, it was like almost 4:00. So
I'm coming
good
back.
Times. I let me tell you, I felt so bad for that family because they had been moved around. They'd been moved around 3 times that day. So they're finally in a room. They're finally in bed. And then I come knocking on the door at 2:30. And I'm just like, oh, man. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
I mean, it happens, man. You hear stories about that very often.
Yeah.
So I had a similar occurrence in Houston, but it wasn't locked out. The place seemed nice. Got in late, night before a game, settled down, hanging out at the desk, and you see bugs crawling in the bed. You're like, hold up, let me check this out real quick. Yeah, I go to look and it's bed bugs. Luckily, I hadn't touched or done anything. I had just come in, sat at the desk, and was hanging out. But yeah, so I understand that really pushed me to Airbnbs for the next few games.
No, you're right. That championship weekend, I stayed in Airbnb. It was way better. So
yep. So yeah, man, that's cool. I'm glad that you haven't had any bad experiences truly with each league. Personally, I'll say the same. The editing of the podcast is probably something that I didn't enjoy, but it has nothing to do with the actual football aspect.
Right. Right. No, I mean, both leagues have just been, as we've said, just grateful for the opportunities they present us with. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
All good. No worries. Well, let's talk about your future plans. I mean, what are you doing next year, this year? Was there anything in the works for you regarding media or job change, whatever?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously the goal is to continue to grow the brand, to continue to, keep doing what I'm doing. I feel like I've been content-wise on a roll the last year or so, just kind of really, I guess, zoning in on the content that fits my brand personally. So that's just been exciting, and I'm really looking forward to just the announcements that we'll see from both leagues coming up this year. I mean, there's obviously going to be some changes in the USFL when it comes to hubs, and the XFL. They shouldn't have any major changes, but heading towards season 2, it's a pretty monumental year ahead for them. So just continuing to expand those connections and just keeping an eye on what they're doing. I say this time and time again, we're living in the golden age of spring football. So whether you're a fan of the XFL, the USFL, or both, I just think it's great to appreciate what both are doing and just truly appreciate it while we have it, because there's no guarantees in the world of spring football. There just simply aren't.
Yep. And you're 100% correct. We have to keep on rolling, keep on getting some exposure. The times here are better than the times without, no doubt. And it's good to be able to showcase athletes and talk about programs and discuss rule changes. All these things are spring football, and that's what I love personally. So I can see that.
Absolutely. We're on the same page.
Yes, sir. I can tell we are. Now, I mean, honestly, that's the last question I had for you. Like I said, I don't want to pick you apart piece by piece, but I mean, you're great guest. I mean, appreciate your insight into this world of media. A lot of people probably don't realize, about what you do or how you do it. So that's really what we wanted to highlight. Last question.
Oh no!
I'm just kidding. Don't do it. It's just a joke. Don't do it. Like I said, I understand. We want both to succeed.
Oh man,
we want both.
I'm gonna have Dwayne tweeting at me in a second here, please.
Please don't do that. I'm trying to stay on the good side of things myself, so I can make it as media next year.
Oh, man.
But yeah, man, no worries. We appreciate your coverage of both leagues, and I'm not going to bash one or the other. I'm not going to ask you for reasons to bash one or the other. Either way, I appreciate your work, man. And
I mean, if we're being honest here, for me personally, it's like I'm totally fine with people having preferences and opinions. I just don't see why people would bash one or the other. I mean, these are people's livelihoods and careers at stake. I don't know why you'd want to see them fail. That's just my take.
Agreed. And part of it's just the world we live in now. It's just the people that 100%. Are avid XFL or USFL haters just because they love the NFL.
Politics.
Yeah, they can't see any other way around what they're doing. So, but with exception, hopefully people like us and Christian and the X Fan Show and Marcast, all these guys, I really hope that they find whatever niche that people want so that they can become avid fans such as we are. But yeah, man, that's about all I have for you. Is there anything else you wanna touch base on or talk about before I let you go? I got an interview with Francis Nouvi that I recorded yesterday, so I'm gonna stream that once we hop off. Francis is from the Netherlands, Amsterdam. He was a soccer player. Yeah, he's familiar with football. He's been in football, but he actually didn't attend a collegiate program in the U.S., and he's trying to be a professional without that attendance. And so it's pretty interesting, his story. So just wanted to share that.
Man, that literally is what the XFL and spring football is all about. I think that to me is why doing what we do is so worth it, and just seeing these leagues do what they do is so worth it, because where else are you going to see a story like that, where a kid from the Netherlands just trying to live out his dream is having the chance to do so? Again, the intersection of dreams and opportunity, what more could you ask for?
Yes, sir. Player 54 all the way. Opportunity. That's what we're looking for. Whether you're player, fan, coach, media, whatever, everybody's got a piece of this pie, and it really drives the success of all spring leagues. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on, James. You're welcome to come back anytime. I like this. I like talking to you. I like picking your brain, and hopefully once the season hits, we'll be able to have some good conversations about these games and what's occurred.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, this was a great chance to just talk more XFL and spring football. And I gotta say, I gotta hand it to you. You're an excellent host. So
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I'm still fresh in the game, but we're rolling and we're trying. So that's all I can do.
Yeah, no, you sound like you've been doing this for your whole life. So
I wish. I really do wish. Oh man. But James, why don't you share with everyone your socials? I have some stuff there flashing at the bottom for people. And that's, like I said, if you'll the notes I sent you, if you'll just stick all your links in there, I'll put them in the show note details, and that way they're easy and clickable to get to. But if you could just share everything on air, because this is an audio show as well after the live.
Right on. Yeah, no, absolutely. So my Twitter handle is at James Larsen PFN. That's where, I share pretty much all my stories, whether it's XFL, USFL related, just constantly, as you said, constantly tweeting out information, stories, whatever. Of course, work for the USFL and XFL newsroom, so all my articles are listed on their website. And if you feel like checking out the photos, at James Larsen Official on Instagram. So I think that about covers it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you again, James, and I look forward to seeing your work and just getting you on and talking more in the future. Thanks again, man, for your hard work and dedication for the leagues.
Absolutely. I appreciate the kind words, and right back at you, man.
Yes, sir. Until next time, have a good one.
You as well.
Appreciate James Larsen for coming on. Another great guest. We've had some really good conversations recently, so appreciate you, James. Thank you for coming on. Next up, I'm about to stream the interview with Francis Nouvi. Now, kind of like last session, we'll stream it and then the live will end. But this is about a 32-minute long interview, I believe. I recorded it yesterday during the day. Francis was a really compassionate player. He's a really good guy. What he brings to the table is unique and different, and his story is one worth listening to, so please check it out. Before I hop off the air, I want to say thanks to the XFL for letting me cover your league. Appreciate it greatly. Keep up what you're doing. Keep up with the media stuff. We are all loving it so far, and we need the trends. So thank you, XFL. Keep it up. XFL board, appreciate your kindness and your XFL board's really given me a place to drive home. So thank you, XFL board. They've got a lot of resources, a lot of new articles. Great guys that run that site and cover that site. So check that out also. And lastly, Ambush Sports, also a great crew to be around, to work with and work for. I look forward to covering for them next year and providing some stuff for them. Check them out online or on the socials as well. That's about it for me. Thursday, we'll have Lowell Patron attending. He's a Combine attendee. He'll be wrapping up the Combine Thursday, so we'll get to talk to him and pick his ear about how that went. A great athlete. Check him out if you haven't. I'll have some of his highlights ready for next session on Thursdays for us to check out. But check him out. Really solid wide receiver. Really, really solid and ready to go. Before I hop off air, I want to wish good luck to the athletes that I've spoken with or that I've had some connection with. Jeremiah Spicer, linebacker, good luck, man, at the Combine. I hope you do great. Kill it. Excel. We'll see you soon in the team. Joshua Flowers, defensive back, another great athlete. Check him out if you haven't. He's going to be somewhere, and he's going to be doing something, no doubt. He's got one of the hardest positions in football, and he's a stud at it. So check him out. Francis Nouvi. Francis is a DN. Like I said, we're about to stream his interview here soon. He should be ready to go also, and I wouldn't be surprised when he makes an XFL team. He's an athlete, boxer, former soccer player. He doesn't have a big football background like most guys, but he's an athlete, so that's what matters most. Lastly, like I said, Lowell Patron, wide receiver, solid guy. Check him out if you haven't. He's got some good highlights on YouTube, so check him out, see what you think. Either way, good luck, guys. I wish you the best. Really hope to see you shine in this league or whatever league you end up in. Regardless, like I said, good luck. Kill it. Kick ass. Take names. And show everybody what's going on at the Combine. But that wraps it up for me, guys. Please like and follow, share, whatever we need to do just to get me out a little bit. I've been working pretty hard to get these interviews out. We'll have a few interviews in August, but there won't be as many just due to me being pretty busy. I want to note, too, next week we'll be attending a Saints training camp, and I'll get 2 or 3 attendances there, so that should be a good time. Jack, if you're listening, let's see if we can hook up, take a couple photos, man. Curious to see how you're doing, and we'll be watching for you there for sure. As always, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming on board. It's been a great run, and I look forward to providing more coverage down the line. It's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun. So I'm going to pull up this interview from Francis. We'll roll from there. Afterwards, that'll be it. So once again, check out Thursday, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Hold up. Wrong file. Here we go. All right. We are live. How's it going today, Francis? How are you?
I'm blessed. Matthew. How are you?
Very good. Very good. It's a wonderful, Monday afternoon. and there it's what, 12 o'clock. Here it's 2.
Correct.
How's the weather there, man? You're in Arizona, right?
I am. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. It's too hot, if you ask me. It's about 120 degrees right now.
Oh,
Yeah, it gets hot. It gets really hot here.
yeah, it's not that bad here. It's probably more about 95, but the humidity here is just wicked. So it's a little different, but it's still hot either way. But anyway, man, it's good to meet you in person. I know we've talked on the phone a few times, traded messages. Excited to find out more about you, your background, just where you came from. I know you're from Netherlands, Amsterdam, correct?
Correct. Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, because of that, I want to really just find out more about you, man. I know you used to be a soccer player. You've attempted to play at the University of Alabama. There's a few different things that are pretty interesting about your story.
Thank
And
you.
really, I mean, just let us have it. We want to hear about it at home. So what happened, Francis? Tell us about you.
Okay, so yeah, I grew up playing soccer. That's like the main sport that everybody does in Europe. That's where I grew up most of my life. And in the Alabama situation, it really came about when I was running towards the bus to go to school, and one of the coaches, his name is Peter Heyer. He used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs as a German national-born player, and yeah, he saw me run, and he felt that I had a lot of speed for my size, and so yeah, he found out. Well, he got in touch with me and convinced me and my parents to start playing football. And he was an offensive player, and he felt that with my speed that I would excel. So to go back, yeah. So a coach, a German-born coach that was playing in the NFL, he saw me run one day, and he convinced me and my parents to start football. So I didn't know too much about American football at the time, but he thought that I would excel at the defensive line position. And so that's where they put me at first, was defensive end.
You enjoy that? I guess that's your spot, huh?
Yeah. It was natural, right? And I think I didn't know all the rules at the time, but the coaches told me, hey, just get the quarterback, get the person with the ball. And yeah, I could do that very easy. So it didn't really, it wasn't much challenge for me. The people that they had in front of me to block me, I would always naturally place my hands where I would have the leverage and beat whoever's in front of me to get to the ball. So those things came natural, and I just build on off of that.
Yeah. So what's your size now? Coming into the combine, you will be heading to the combine here in the next couple of days. So
yeah. So the last showcase that I was on was last week Sunday. They measured me at 6'3 3/4, and I weighed in at 275 pounds.
Oh wow. Yeah, you're a pretty big man.
Yeah.
So you're pretty quick, agile.
Yes. I had good feet. Given the soccer background, a lot of soccer players, I think they're just very able to move their feet like basketball players would be with their hands, like the handle. So you're able to control your feet very well. And as I grew larger in size, I always had this size, but as the weight came on, I was still able to move the same. And so that helped with playing football. As far as the hands concerned, I did a lot of martial arts. So that one-on-one combat, that was something that I did. I started doing kickboxing, boxing throughout my life. My parents, my father and my grandfather, both are boxers. So the hand fighting came natural. And again, those are just all the things that I could build off and just better myself as a football player.
So you're a fighter also?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You've had professional fights?
I had 17 professional fights in kickboxing in Europe, and had a lot of amateur fights when it came to taekwondo and boxing. But when I came to America, I just recently started getting into boxing as far as taking that to the professional level. So
Understood.
I've been training out in Vegas as of currently.
Gotcha. That's awesome, man. What age did you actually start playing American football?
Good question. I started at 18.
Gotcha. Wow. So you were really late to the party, man.
Yeah. It was considered late. Started at 18, club football at the time. so you had to pay to play. And I started playing with. So when I was 18, I played with all kids that were like similar age. So it went up until 19. And then once I turned 19, they put me into the senior program, which means I was playing against grown men who were all 30, 40 years old. So it was good to like just test your strength against them. And I think it gave me a lot of confidence when I was able to dominate grown men as a 19-year-old.
Yes, sir. I could see how that would. I mean, coming in just and starting off the bat, that's a hard sport just to jump in and play immediately.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
much
yeah.
respect to you, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it helps too. Like just being thrown in the, like just you learn on the fly, you know. And so yeah, a lot of the things that I think the more games you play, the better you become. Like you can practice, which is great, but once you start playing, you know, you really need that experience, all those game situations.
No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
Now, I know you attempted to play for the University of Alabama, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So tell us the story about that. Tell us what happened. I mean, it's just people may not be familiar.
Okay, so yeah, once I played my first season in Europe, and so I never really like my biggest thing was always not having game film. So the ones that were actually present at any of the games that I played, they were able to, I guess, vouch for me as a player and how I respond, whether it's the first quarter, second quarter, to all the way throughout the fourth quarter. I never like give up on plays, and so, but those are only traits you can either see when you evaluate a player throughout the season or if you scout them in person. But if you're unfamiliar with a player like me, you would never know about these things, especially if you put together a highlight tape, right? Um, so that was always the biggest thing that was holding me back. But I had this rare opportunity when I was scouted to play in this. It's called a Progress Scout Bowl. This was in Florence, Alabama, and I played against a lot of players who were all coming from like 4-year collegiate, you know, experience, and they were actually getting ready to play in the NFL or the next level. And at that time, I kind of came in as I'd say like a freshman college player. And during that game, I'd honestly say I didn't got a lot of like playing time, but from the little, I guess, snaps that I gotten, little opportunities to get on the field, I was able to make plays. And I was kind of disappointed at the end of it because it was just a week's event. And I thought that, you know, I kind of like blew my chance of playing at a higher level in America. But after the game, the coaches from Alabama, they somehow heard about me and they invited me to come over to campus. So I went over to campus. I remember flying into, where was this? I think Nashville, and they drove to Nashville to pick me up.
Wow.
And, yeah. So they drove me from Nashville to pick me up. It was Coach Jody Wright, actually. That was at the time, he was one of the recruiting coaches. And yeah, he brought me to Alabama campus. I remember coming into his at the place he was staying at the time. He had a laptop that was open and all the windows of all the information that he could gather from me. And it was really little information. I didn't have much exposure on the internet, but you can see that he did his work diligently and really looked into everything that he could find. And one thing he said to me was, your practice film is the reason why we're getting you this scholarship. And I was amazed because in Europe, the coaches would always tell me that my practice film didn't really show much. But because I was such a hustle hard, like all out effort type of player, every snap that I would take in practice, I would just always chase wide receivers. So I would run and chase them 30, 40 yards, you know, after the ball is thrown. So that was the thing that the coaches said they couldn't teach me. And they felt like they were good enough coaches to teach me the game of football. But there were certain traits that I already possessed. So, yeah, I was happy to see that my effort was noticed by them. But, yeah, that was basically what led me there. So I showed up there. That was an unofficial visit, by the way. I kind of like was taken around campus and was pretty much just showing like everything from the weight rooms. And in Europe, I would always work out to the point where they would have to shut the gym down, and they would always tell me that, you know, that I have to hurry up and leave. But I asked the coaches in Alabama, I said, hey, can I come to the gym and work out all the time? They said, yes, of course. And they said, either you love football or you're just crazy, you know. And I told them, hey, I'm both. But yeah, that was one of the things that I really looked forward to playing there. And, you know, the fact that I didn't think the coaches was, you know, how you have a lot of times where coaches may like blow smoke to you. And to me, they really believed in me because they could have given that scholarship to anybody in the United States. You know, there are plenty talented players that they can choose from. But for them to choose a kid all the way from Europe, yeah, that was amazing. And that means a lot to me. You know, that's something that I always take with me in my life.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's a huge experience, man, for an athlete to make it to that point. Right here, I'm showing some video. Now, this says it's 6 years ago. Was this
Correct.
this is from one of those pro days, I'm guessing?
This was actually the pro day, yeah. So what happened was I was able to go to school there. I had to do like all kind of tests to get admitted into the university. So yeah, I qualified like academically. What happened is, so I started university at 16 in Europe. And because of the fact that I enrolled into a university program, the NCAA, they said that they deducted the years from my 4 year of eligibility.
Yes, sir.
But what the coaches and I was arguing was that we didn't have collegiate sports. So it was kind of not only unfair, but unreasonable for them to take any time away from my playing in Alabama. But so that was kind of what the main issue was. And so I wasn't able to play football there. And I think that's what changed a lot in my life when it comes to my professional or even collegiate career.
Yes, sir. That would have been some big time years in Alabama to play there as well.
Right.
There's
Even just
no
one
doubt.
year. Yeah.
Yep.
Like you said, even just 1 year, I know that that's all the experience that I would have needed. I mean,
Yep.
just the little time that I was there, the players that I was, you know, fortunate enough to be around, just seeing how they practice and everything like that, it just changes your mentality. You know, in Alabama, from the coaching to like the players, even the backup players, they can start at any other university. You know, and that's no
Yep.
disrespect to the other collegiate programs, but it's just about just the next man up mentality, right? So
Yes, sir.
you learn a lot from that, and yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's number one, man. That especially back in, what was that, 2018, 17, something like that.
Correct.
They were on their high prime back then. Now it's a little
They
different.
definitely
But
were. Yeah,
back then, I mean, they were steamrolling for years and
that's
years.
right. Yeah, that's right.
But it's
Yeah,
cool,
so-
man. You got that exposure, you got the experience. You just didn't get to play, unfortunately, but at least you
And
got
that's
to
right.
go. You know?
Yeah. So the videos that you were showing earlier, that was my pro day. So I was fortunate enough to do a pro day there at the University of Alabama, and it gave me great exposure because right after I'd done it, as you can see, like the defensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions and the position coach, the D line from the Detroit Lions, they all took me from once I did like my main pro day, like they took me to do like a private positional specific, you know, workouts for them. And right when they were done, the Chicago Bears got me, and then also the Tennessee Titans, from what I remembered. And it just really showed you like once one team showed interest, you know, the next would. And of course, that led to other opportunities. Again, with me not having my film, I wasn't able to do much because these coaches still need to go back and convince their GMs, you know, or player personnel guy to get you to bring you in. But what I got an opportunity from there to go play in this spring league. You know, they told me, and even like Joey Porter was there, and Kevin Green, and these were guys that I was in my room in Europe, like watching them, you know, on YouTube, right? And especially Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd. Like these were some guys that just with the little experience that I had in football, I just always felt like if I'm going to play this position, I have to play it like them, you know, their intensity, their passion for the game. And so, yeah, just meeting them and them telling me, hey, go to the spring league. It'll be a great opportunity for you to show what you can do. And that's what I did. I went to the spring league. This was at the Greenbrier in West Virginia. And, yeah, I excelled there, too. I was named the MVP of the spring league. I had, like, the most production when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. And, yeah, I was happy to just show them that, look, with any opportunity you give me, I'm willing to make the most out of it.
Yes, sir. What year was that? What do you recall?
This was in 2000. Let's see, 2000. I believe 2017 or 18.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the spring league.
So following that, you wound up in the XFL, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So there was a guy in the, I think he was like the NFL International program. His name is Mike Kenzel. He sent my film over to the spring league film over to the scout personnel people at XFL at the time, and they invited me over to a showcase, which was at the time like an invite only in Tampa, and that's where I did like my whole workout, and I was contacted by the Tampa Bay Vipers at the time. Yeah, so it was I can't remember our head coach name, but he used to coach for the Atlanta Falcons. And he liked me because I trained with Chuck Smith in Atlanta. And Chuck Smith was one of his defensive ends during the time, I think around the 1990s when they were in Atlanta. So, yeah, I had an opportunity with them in the Tampa Bay. And unfortunately, the COVID happened too. So that kind of shut down the season for us in 2020.
And Mark Trestman, was that your coach there?
No, Mark Trestman was actually the, Coach Trestman, either he was the head coach or the GM.
I just Googled it, so that's the first thing I saw. I just wanted
Yeah, Mark Trestman, yeah, that's possible. Yeah, because he came from the Chicago Bears, correct?
Yeah, it appears that's who.
Remember, yeah.
Head coach and general manager Mark Trestman. So
yeah. He was definitely the general manager. Yeah, correct.
Gotcha. So I mean, in terms of that experience, how did that go? You said you played 4 games for them before COVID shut us down.
Yes. So I came in like a little towards the end of the season, yeah, COVID shut that down. I mean, it was a fun experience being over there in Tampa, and yeah, right when COVID shut everything down. I mean, my plan was pretty much just to get some film, and then my coach at the time, the one that recruited me, he went to the Giants. So the plan was to get film and have him, have the right people look at it, see if I can get into any of the mini camp, and that's pretty much been my story, right? To make the most out of any situation. So I knew if I get into a mini camp, I'll be able to impress somebody, and even if it's not that team, some other team that I would play against would see me, and yeah, I'll make something happen from there, right? So that was always my mentality, because that's just always what I had to do.
Yeah. I mean, much respect. You're hustling. Work ethic's high.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds like you've had quite the journey, especially compared to some of the other guys I've talked to. I mean, it's no different in hardships, but it's just different in the way it was formed and how you ended up here.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of people, I always compare this as in, imagine a high school player not being able to go to college, right? In those 4 years being taken away from you, how do you see yourself getting to the NFL? Not a lot of people can even make that happen. And so, even watching the draft, when you see top players being projected to go high in the first round, and whenever they slip and they end up in the later rounds, you can just see from their facial expression that they get so, like encouraged, right? Discouraged, I mean.
Yep,
right, they really do. So just to be in that position where, like I said, you're not able to get to that level. I think it does a lot to a person, right? So it shows also the type of person you are, like the resiliency in your spirit, if you were able to overcome that. And that's the type of things you need into being a football player.
Yes, sir. Agreed. It's hard work, man. You got to really want it, no doubt. But hey, soccer's hard too, dude. You run around playing soccer for a whole game, that'll wear you out.
Yeah, imagine the stamina that you get.
Oh, I can't imagine, bro. Your size, you're very large. So I mean, I know me. I'm mid to large. I'm not large, but man, I could never do the soccer game. So
it's fun. It's really fun, and it's violent too. Like as far as it gets dangerous. Like the angles that people sometimes like attack you and slide. Like soccer players have a lot of knee injuries, and it's hard to come back from that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It reminds me from what you're talking of rugby almost. I knew a few people that played rugby in college, and that's a rough sport
Yeah.
also.
Rugby is tough, yeah. Yeah, I enjoy watching it as well. Like they're very passionate.
Yes, sir. Now, so you were with the Tampa Bay Vipers. At this point, what have you been doing the past couple of years just to stay in shape, just to be ready to go?
Well, I've been boxing, and boxing conditioning or boxing in shape is different than football. But that's what I've been doing. It was for me also like very therapeutic. And so I've gotten into boxing, and mostly I've just been training. Like I'll go to Exos since it's here in Phoenix. It was actually one of the reasons why I am in Phoenix, because I did like my pro day. The weeks of training was all at Exos, so I like established some great relationships there. And yeah, just go there and train. And they have this program where a lot of NFL free agents come, so we're like always in that work environment where we push each other, and it just keeps you staying in touch with everything still.
Yeah, greatness sharpens greatness, no doubt.
That's right. Yeah. So you get to be with a lot of guys that, um, a lot of my position guys would be there, and so we do all the like stand-up bag drills, the get-offs. We work on all the like core things that comes with our position. So
Yes,
that's what
sir.
I've been doing mostly, and I work. So I went to schools. I graduated from the Fashion Institute. So I graduated with the specialized design, and what I do is like I tailor clothes. So I design, tailor clothes, and a lot of the players that I've met, on this journey, a lot of them they were very like into fashion. So I had opportunities to work with them and design stuff for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the type of stuff that I've been doing in the meantime. Just
So you
staying
still,
active.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it.
I was going to say, you're staying busy. You're on the field, you're ready, and off the field, you're ready either
Yes,
way.
yes. And my parents always told me, like just to go as hard as I did with football, with any other thing in life. So I think that's one of the things that the coaches were saying at the XFL showcase that, as a football player and everything that you go through, those are great traits that will carry on in any aspect of your life. So you would always be the hardest worker. And I've just taken that with me, and yeah, it's done really well for me.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
I'm going to get to asking you a few questions just
Of
about
course.
your experience. I mean,
Yeah.
not your experience, but more like what people would think about you and how you feel about yourself
Okay.
related to the XFL. So first up, I mean, how would you describe yourself, or how would your teammates and coaches describe you if they had to tell me a story about you or tell me about how you were?
I say my teammates definitely would describe me as somebody that you would want on your team, somebody that you would want on your side. Um, my coaches, how would they describe me? I think it would be two different descriptions as far as like the man that I am and the player that I am, because my parents, they taught me to always have respect and be polite to people and all. But when it comes to me being on the football field, not saying that I'm not polite, but I do have like a different edge about me, right? So
Got to.
very violent, and yeah, so it really depends on the person if they describe you as me or the player that I am.
Love to
But
hear it.
yeah, so it'd be that. Um, yeah, I'd say that for sure.
Okay. Nice. Now, how does your experience set you apart from other players coming in, especially D linemen? I mean,
That's a good question. I'd say the maturity. Um, even like when coming in college, the coaches always envisioned a leadership position or role for me because of my maturity coming in. I didn't come in as I guess the average sophomore, right, or junior at the time. I had a lot of life experience coming in, and I was always so very like my goal was the NFL. Like I didn't come there to play pretty much or waste my time. So I'd say like my experience with the journey, just the path, like what it took to get there. It definitely would set me apart with other players, and even just looking at the way that I practice, how I approach practice. I approach practice like it's a championship game, and even with kickoff, I would always just make myself available and be as versatile that I could for any team that I was in. So with just my background, like we're playing different sports, it definitely helped me out a lot.
Makes sense. I can tell the work ethic really, really is there with you, man. So, next question. How have the past teams you've been on made you a better player?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd say like just the teammates that I've been around, the different coaching, the mentalities, and then like all those training camps that you're in, it definitely shapes you as a player. And even like the rejections, like the teams that I haven't been able to get on, like when I talked to the Detroit Lions and they couldn't get me on the team at the time, I still like followed up and asked them, the things that they saw that maybe I couldn't see and what I could work on. And a lot of times, like when you get your scouting reports back, that was something that I would thrive off of that. Like if somebody doesn't believe in you or they see certain things that you don't think is accurate. If you read like J.J. Watt's draft analyzed, like they a lot of the things that they said about him, he actually excelled in, right? Or even Michael Jordan's, the things that he didn't do so well, that he made his weaknesses his strengths. So that's the same thing with me. Like I love to hear to get the feedback, so that way I feel like I have an edge, as in you just giving me something now that I can become stronger at.
Yes, sir.
It'd be worse if you didn't tell me where I was not so good at, so that I didn't know where to build off from. So
yes, sir.
Those are the things that I'd say. It's mostly the teams that I haven't been on that made me a better player.
Gotcha. So, what do you believe the greatest challenge is for most athletes or you that you're facing today?
For me, my biggest challenge was just that exposure, just having that film, and it was a thing where at some point, you start thinking that you have like so many people working against you, because a lot of times I would be in different teams in Europe even, and there would be film as far as like it was recorded, but I would never get this film. I just always had that where it just seemed like a struggle just to get a hold of your film, or so. But I think with a lot of athletes today, just seeing from how it was like just starting off with football, I think they struggle with like focus, having the distraction of social media and not really having maybe the right intentions on why they're doing things. Back in the day, everybody was just going for a ring. They wanted that championship ring. But nowadays, maybe they're just doing it for the views, the likes, the other people's attention. And I think that can do a lot or take a lot away from, what you should be going for. So I'd say that would be one of the challenges for athletes that I've been around, like just the nightlife, going out all the time, or drinking and all the stuff that kind of like limits your potential.
Yep, and puts you in situations where bad things can happen.
Yeah, that too, absolutely. You hear that all the time, especially in the off season. One might have a great season, and then in the off season something happens, and it just puts them back again. So, yeah.
Yes, sir. Now I just got one more question for you, and then we'll wrap it up. Before I ask you this, now, did you tell me how old you were? I'm curious.
No, I'm 34 now.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so next question is, what's your goals in XFL and beyond? So, say you go to the Combine, you get on a team this next season. Mm-hmm. What's your goals for that season? And then following that, what's your goal?
My goals for the XFL would be really just to help any team that I can, but also just for myself, as in, I really want to just challenge myself into, if I say I'm this player that I think that I am I able to make everything happen during the season, even if it's just a game, and it's not necessarily just for like getting the sacks or anything, but more like willing, a play to happen, right? So those are just the personal challenges for myself that I set up, and mostly just to like play in the XFL and get an opportunity to play somewhere else, And even like I said, if it's for 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, that's fine with me, as long as I can, just look at myself and know that I've done everything I could to make it to that level.
Yeah, you'll have your highlights then for sure, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely need that film, but it'd be just something that I also can show back home, to all the kids that are coming up now and going through college. That that is definitely possible. I have a funny story. There's this kid at the Arizona Cardinals right now. He's number 43. His name is Jesse Lukita. He's from Canada, and the funny thing is he reached out to me on Facebook like around 2010, and at that time he was like 12 years old, and he was like, "Hey, big bro, I want to follow in your footsteps and get to the America and play at a higher level." And we just kept in touch, and I always like encouraged him the best way that I could. But he went to Penn State, and had like a great career there and got drafted to the Arizona Cardinals. So we met here in Arizona, and it's just beautiful to see that, I just love to see that, right? So those are the stories that you love to see. And if I could, like, whatever, I feel like with him, if he can just do the same things for the next kids that are coming up, it would be a great thing. So, those are the type of stories that I love to see.
I love it, man. Keep on being a role model. Even when you don't realize it, you're still one. So it's good that you know that.
I appreciate it.
Hold yourself to that standard, because, no one else is going to. So you have to.
That's right, yeah.
Well, man, honestly, I didn't want to keep you so very long on here because I don't want to bore you. But
no, Matthew, I enjoyed it. It's
I appreciate you coming, man. You've been great guest.
Thank you.
Conversation. Look forward to seeing you end up somewhere. I'm sure you will. And
thank you.
I'll be watching closely, man. Hopefully we'll get you back on the season, talk to you, see what's happening, see where you're at, and just get some updates.
I look forward to it. I'll make sure to definitely stay in touch with you. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity, and for all the other players that you do that too.
Yes, sir. Do it for the love, man. So appreciate you. Much respect. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I look forward to it. Again, thank you again, Matthew. And I wish you a good day.
You too, man. Appreciate you again, Francis. We'll see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.